Fears and phobias that you may or may not have heard of. Part 4. This video is for educational purposes only. Personality fears. Sometimes the things we fear the most is something within ourselves. Number 18. Phobia, the fear of failure. This is one of the most common fears a lot of people have, especially when they're in a work environment, family dynamic, and cultural setting where they are expected to succeed at a higher level and failure is not an option. And there has been cases where even though some people have lots of successes and are trying their best to either their families, co-workers, or spouses, or friends, or whoever they are associated with, it's never good enough. And sometimes people are just like, well, these people are never going to be pleased, so I'm going to walk away. However, people who suffer from the phobia don't tend to walk away from that and would do everything in their power to appease the person or people that they're trying to appease, even though they're never going to be pleased. And this puts a lot of pressure and stress and anxieties onto them, as they will push themselves to the point where, let's say when it's time to do a presentation or work on a project, they won't do as well because they're worrying about the negative outcome and what would happen, even though it hasn't happened yet, and what we call a self-fulfillment prophecy. And a lot of times they tend to fail because they are so focused and obsessed with pleasing everyone that they forgot what was most important in their lives. But this is very understandable because we are living in a society where we are expected to do a certain thing, act a certain way, think a certain way, etc. And our career choice and relationship choices can also affect how people say or think about us. And the list goes on. While there are many reasons why people who are affected by the phobia and why they think or try to go to extreme lengths to please everyone, there are ways that they can cope with it. Meditation, therapy, and a good support system can be very beneficial. Taking deep breaths and practicing and rehearsing for whatever projects or presentation you have to do. And when it's time to present, do your best. If you succeed, give yourself a pat on the back. If you don't succeed, give yourself a pat on the back, because a try is better than a failure. Number 19, fear of rejection. This ties into social anxieties, as a lot of us have a fear of being rejected by someone, either by family, co-workers, friends, our spouse, or even our secret crush. And this can take a toll on a lot of people who suffer from the phobia because they worry whether or not if the person that they like will like them or accept them. Especially when, let's say, someone goes to a new school and they're trying to make new friends, they worry if they're going to be accepted or rejected. And that can take a toll on them, and sometimes it can prevent them from actually making new friends or pursuing a new relationship, which a lot of people who suffer from the phobia actually tends to do. And in some cases, they go to the extreme lengths to try to impress everyone, when in actuality, it's not really a requirement. But again, those who suffer from the phobia felt that they need to impress everyone in order to be accepted. And sometimes they get involved in the wrong crowd. And again, the list goes on and on. However, there are ways that people can cope and overcome those fears. which is mainly therapy, and of course, finding a good support group. And if you know someone who suffers from the phobia, show your love and support, reassure them that everything's going to be all right, and even if they get rejected by someone that they like or the people they want to be friends with, be their best friend. Even if you are a parent to someone who suffers from the phobia, sometimes your parents and even your teachers and coworkers can be your best friend. Number 20, fear of the unknown. This ties into xenophobia. While we cannot predict of what lies ahead or what's going to happen into the future, the unknown can be very scary, especially when we are stepping out of our comfort zone and exploring the unknown. While it can be scary at first, but after a while it becomes an adventure. However, those who suffer from the phobia finds that impossible to do so, as it causes them to have high levels of stress, anxiety attacks, and it puts them in a panic attack. And even the thought of it scares them. And while it varies on the individual of what causes them to fear the unknown, and there are many reasons why people fear the unknown, there are ways that you can help someone who suffers from the phobia to cope and overcome it. As I stated before, have a good support system, show love and support, therapy, and in some cases, virtual reality can also help, as recently it's helped some people with phobias to get a feel of what it's like to be out there to help them overcome their fears. But also, don't push them to do something that they don't feel comfortable or don't want to do. Number 21, fear of missing out. This is another social anxiety trait that people have, especially when they feel like they're missing out on things or about to, or don't want to miss out on anything. And unfortunately, social media is one of the main factors that contributes to the phobia, as many people tend to see their friends and family go on fancy trips, restaurants, and places, and they feel like they're missing out on things. And YouTube and, of course, TikTok doesn't make it any better, as if you're a content creator like me, you're expected to create video that could potentially go viral and have lots of likes, views, etc. And if you're not hopping on the trend according to the algorithm, then you're missing out. And the people who suffer from the phobia tends to get anxious, and the list goes on. However, there are ways you can cope and overcome it. Limit your time on social media, take some deep breaths, don't worry about what other people say or do or think of you, and don't stress about keeping up with trends. They're just trends. And have a good support system, and if you know someone who suffers from the phobia, show your love and support for them, and reassure them that everything's going to be all right. Number 22, fear of getting hurt. This ties to agoraphobia. Whether if you suffer from the phobia or not, it is very common for people to be afraid of getting hurt. After all, the world is a dangerous place. However, by seeking therapy, having good support system, and of course, showing your love and support for if you know someone who suffers from the phobia, and reassure them that everything's going to be all right, you can help them find ways to cope and overcome their fears. That wraps up part 4. Part 5 will be coming up, so keep an eye out for it. You all have an amazing evening, and remember, keep shining. And until next time, stay classy, and I'll see you all in the next video.